Hey, what's up? This is MBI30 again. This is part 3 of Jesus Christ is God. Let's look at some of the attributes only attributed to God. Can only be attributed to God and no mere razul. As we continue, Jesus Christ is considered omnipresent. He's everywhere. Only God can be everywhere at once. Where can we find this? We find this in Matthew chapter 18 verses 20, chapter 28 verses 20. That's me blowing you a kiss or somebody signing on to the Akeem. And then answer these verses. He's considered omnipresent in chapter 28 verse 20 and Ephesians chapter 1 verses 23. Remember, we're looking at what the whole Bible, the whole New Testament teaches upon who Jesus Christ is. We just don't do eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm going to take this verse and the rest has to go. No, we don't do that. We allow the context to speak for itself. A systematic theological understanding of what the New Testament teaches about the work, the person of Jesus, who the person of Jesus Christ is. Is he a mere razul? And as we continue, he's omnipotent. That means he's all-powerful. All-powerful. In Daniel chapter 7 verses 13 and verses 14. In Matthew chapter 28 verses 18. And in John chapter 3 verse 33 and in verse 35, in chapter 17 verses 2, and in 1 Peter 3:22. Jesus Christ is considered eternal. Eternal. In 1 Timothy chapter 1 verses 17, chapter 6 verses 7, chapter 6 verses 16, and Revelation chapter 1 verses 4 and 5. How can this be said of a prophet who is eternal? Jesus Christ is eternal. Scriptures claim that Christ was pre-existent. Christ pre-existed before the creation of the world. That he was present with the Father from the very beginning of time. Genesis 1:26 verses in chapter 3 verses 22, chapter 11 verses 7. That looks like us, are and we. That can't be spoken of God in a majestic form. That's not what the Old Testament is talking about here. But we can get into that a little bit later. And in Proverbs 8 verses 22, that's Proverbs chapter 8 verses 22 through verse 26 or 36. And Isaiah chapter 48 verses 12, verses 16 as well. And in Micah 5:2, and in John 1 through 3, and in chapter 10, that's John 1 verses 1 through 3, and in verse 10. Chapter 3 verse 13, chapter 6 verses 62, chapter 17 verses 5 and verses 24, and in chapter 8 verses 38 and in 58. I mean, First Corinthians 8 verse 6, and in Ephesians 3:8, and in Philippians chapter 2 verses 5, and Colossians 1 verses 15 through 19, and in Romans 11 chapter 7 verses 36, Hebrews chapter 1 verses 2, and Revelations chapter 3 verse 14. He's eternal in all those verses and chapters. And we'll upload another video right now.